What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Is It OP, the series where we take a look at some of TF2's most stereotypically overpowered weapons and put them to the test. Now today, we're going to be looking at one of the most hated, one of the most infamous weapons in TF2, and that is going to be the Dead Ringer. But not only that, we're going to be combining it with the second most hated when combined with the Dead Ringer, and that is going to be the Spy-cicle. Now, everyone hates the Dead Ringer. It's an unbelievably frustrating to verse weapon because it makes spies so goddamn hard to kill. You kill them, but you didn't actually kill them because they just pretended that you killed them, and then they just run away invisible and you don't even do damage to them because of the damage resistance, and it's completely ridiculous, and they're basically impossible to lock down. That is, unless you're a pyro, because at the end of the day, if there's a Dead Ringer spy on the other team who's getting kills but you can't kill, there's always the option of just going pyro, which renders the Dead Ringer pretty much completely useless, because they'll be able to Dead Ringer out for the first particle of flame, but then they'll immediately get set on fire, then you can just track them down, WM1 them in the back, and they're pretty much dead anyway. That is, unless that person is using the Spy-cicle. The Spy-cicle, which gives the spy 2 seconds of fireproofness, combined with the Dead Ringer, gives the spy a complete clean getaway combo from any pyro. That basically means, while 2 seconds isn't that great a length of time, it is easily long enough that you should be able to put enough distance between you and the enemy pyro to make a pretty clean getaway in almost all situations, unless you're really unlucky or you just make some wrong choices and moves. That effectively means that with the Dead Ringer Spy-cicle combo, the only real way you can track down this kind of spy is with Milk or Dralle. Other than that, they're going to be able to get away from you almost every time. So, today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of both weapons, and how powerful the two weapons are together, as well as the disadvantages of both. Now, the Dead Ringer completely changed the way the spy is played. In Ringer+, spies generally have to play really cautiously and tactically, because if you accidentally bump into a player, you'll die. If someone's near you when you kill another enemy, you'll die. You don't have a super reliable escape mechanism, and the cloak time is long enough that if someone reacts quick enough, then they can just shoot you. They'll be able to see because you're visible when you take damage, and pretty much any competent player should be able to track you down pretty quickly. The Dead Ringer, on the other hand, lets you play super aggressively. You can jump on a cart full of enemies, backstab as many people as you want, and you can get away with it. Then just pull up your Dead Ringer, walk away. As soon as someone notices that you're an enemy spy, you can just cleanly pull up your Dead Ringer, walk away, you're totally okay. It is the ultimate escape mechanism, and the only way you can really get tracked down after you get a kill is if you're either A, set on fire, B, Gerardied, or C, milked. Or maybe if they get lucky and happen to follow the exact way you go when you decloak. Now, while the Dead Ringer does make a massive sound when you do decloak, you should be using it more of a method as escape, and not really as one of initiation. That basically means that you shouldn't be near any enemies when you decloak. You should try and put a massive distance between you and the enemy. On top of that, a lot of maps have got so much metal around that you can basically just refill your cloak meter as soon as you uncloak yourself, because either a large or a medium health pack will both automatically refill 50% of your cloak meter. So if you just decloak on top of one of those, or even better, an enemy teleport or a dispenser that's been destroyed, you can just instantly pick up that metal and you'll have your Dead Ringer charge back again. Now, the major disadvantage of the Dead Ringer compared to the Ringer comes about when it comes to actually initiating, and that is sneaking up on people and getting the backstab. Now, with the Ringer, you can actually, go completely invisible, sneak up on people, and never see you coming. You can decloak right behind them, and unless they've got their volume turned up really high, they probably won't hear you, and you can get a clean backstab. The Dead Ringer relies solely on you being able to walk up to someone in your disguised state, so disguised as a friendly ally, and being able to get there without them noticing, and then actually getting the backstab. So that means that getting backstabs can be a lot harder to set up. Because the Dead Ringer, as I said before, is, at the end of the day, more of an escape tool. So, now we're going to quickly talk about the Spy-cicle before moving on to what these two weapons do when they're combined. But, first up, the Spy-cicle. Ignore that little floating weapon on the ground there. So, what does the Spy-cicle do and what are its advantages? Well, basically, its advantages are pretty clear, pretty simple. 2 seconds of fire invulnerability when you take a point of fire damage. And what does that do? Really well, it takes your number one counter in the game, grabs it by the head, and puts a big middle finger in its face saying, "Screw you, you're not setting me on fire today, Pyro, because I've got the Spy-cicle." And while 2 seconds might not sound like a lot of time, trust me, it is. Now, The downside of this weapon is also pretty obvious. Once you basically get that fire invulnerability and you take that point of fire damage, your Spy-cicle will disappear for 10 seconds. Now, that's 10 seconds where you're not really going to be killing anyone, but that's also 10 seconds where you're more going to be focused on putting distance between you, the pyro, your number one counter in the game, and just trying to get your Spy-cicle back, get your health back, maybe regen that dead ringer, and basically go back to being the invincible guy that you always are. Now, the only time that the Spy-cicle really has a downside for me because of that is either A, when you're confident that you're going to be able to trick stab every pyro you meet, which is very, very few spies, or B, in competitive play. Now, I don't normally talk about competitive play in these series, but it's especially relevant for the Spy-cicle, because in competitive as a spy, one of your big objectives is to kill the enemy medic. Medics are so important in Highlander games, and a lot of the time, the enemy team, their pyro will be paired up with the medic, which means that if you try and run at the medic, while you might be able to get next to him, it'll be very hard to get next to him without taking one particle of fire damage, and when you do that, your weapon will disappear, and you won't be able to kill the medic anymore. If you're using the normal knife, sometimes you'll run at the medic, you'll get set on fire, but you'll just be able to backstab the medic and kill him before you die. So the Spy-cicle takes away a lot of your kind of getting that key pick potential in Highlander games. So in Highlander, I'd say the Spy-cicle has a much, much bigger disadvantage, but in pub play, as I said before, unless you're able to trick stab pretty much every pyro you meet, then it's got very little downside for me. So now, combining both the dead ringer and the Spy-cicle. Well, what does this do? It effectively takes the most asshole parts of both weapons and combine them to make one asshole super weapon thing of survivability and unable to killness. What this does is basically gives you all the dead ringering ability of the dead ringer and takes away the main dead ringer counter, which is the pyro, and effectively means the only way anyone is going to be able to track you down is with Dralle or Milk. Now, this next clip is showing you the one way that you can actually stuff up this combo, which is if you're walking around with the Spy-cicle out and you don't have your dead ringer up. If a pyro manages to hit you during that time, they'll destroy the Spy-cicle, but they won't activate the dead ringer because you're immune to fire damage, and then as soon as your fire invulnerability wears off, they're going to hit the dead ringer, set you on fire, and then you're pretty much screwed. Now, the only real way you can avoid that is in this clip here. You can see I'm just on upward, minding my own business, not trying to backstab a pyro or anything. He's just being a bit of a dick, and you can see there that I don't have my dead ringer out in time because I was trying to backstab him. He destroys it, and instead what I do is I quickly navigate up those stairs, jump off, and make sure I take fall damage with my dead ringer out. That activates my dead ringer, makes me go invisible, and lets me make a pretty clean getaway from the pyro. So yeah, that's basically it. So what have you got here? You've got an item that basically means you're immune to pretty much all forms of damage. If you're coming up against a soldier, or a scout, or a sniper, or any other class like that, all you gotta do is pull up your dead ringer, walk away, you're totally fine. And if you're unlucky enough that there happens to be a pyro around who's trying to counter you and kill you, which is supposed to be your number one class counter in the game, all you gotta do is pull up your Spy-cicle and walk away, and they can't set you on fire for 2 seconds. You just put some distance between you and the enemy, and you're away free. Totally okay. So yeah, for me, if you ask me, this combination is overpowered, and it shouldn't be like this, where they're basically given the spy a weapon that completely negates his number one counter in the game, unless they get lucky and happen to follow him where he walks while he's invisible. So that's my opinion, guys. I don't really want more people using this combo in the game, but I gotta say, it is unbelievably strong. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Tell me in the comment section down below. Throw me a like if you enjoyed the video, it really helps me out, and I will see you legends next time.